Good morning, everyone. It's August 17th, 2023. Today I want to tackle another issue here that I think needs to come to the forefront. It's in a newspaper article that came out on April the 12th, 2023, in our Ottawa Citizen here. And it's very, very good because it's sort of touching on basis of what I've also been touching, but it's on youth as well. And it may explain some of the reasons why we're seeing more youth in some of our shelters. This was an article. It was written by Jason Pino, is Executive Director of Restoring Hope Missionaries. He operates an emergency shelter for homeless and at-risk youth ages 16 to 24, which this is great, having a youth shelter as well, because the overflow is ending up in our shelter down here, and this is why one of the reasons I believe we're actually seeing more youth in the shelter, and they're getting into far more trouble, and they're getting lost totally and taken down with the drugs and that, and the assaults on them and everything else. So I'm going to read it. The article is called "The Homeless Deserve Care, Not Condemnation. They are much more likely to be victims of assault than you and I are," says Jason Pino. "I would like to present a different side to the argument we often hear, that the city is failing the Byward market because the increase in invisibly homeless individuals who suffer from mental health issues and addictions. Some of the people complaining seem to feel that they are in danger because of homelessness, and this has caused them to stay away from downtown. I would submit that the ones in the most danger are the homeless themselves, and that this is one of the reasons for the increase in their presence. While working for the Salvation Army outreach team, I once had to help a young girl move her encampment. She was sleeping in a tent in a park, and people complained about it being an eyesore. When I asked her where she would like to go, she said somewhere far away, enough away that I don't bother anyone, but close enough that people can hear me if I'm screaming. What she is expressing is a truth that many people experiencing homelessness congregate in populated areas because they feel safer being around people, streetlights, community resources, and paramedics who can get to them quickly. The average citizen walking around downtown may feel it uncomfortable to see the homeless and may perceive danger because of the misconceptions about people experiencing homelessness. By and large, we do not have a problem downtown with the homeless attacking random people going shopping. The ones who are experiencing violence, theft, and other physical dangers are the homeless themselves. This is because they are a vulnerable population and are often viewed as being less important and less valuable than tax-paying citizens who come downtown to shop or go out to eat. They do not have the same voice as the person who feels they can criticize the city council for not cleaning up the streets. I often see people commenting that there needs to be an increased police presence to solve the problem. But the problem often is not a criminal one, so therefore police will not be able to do anything. It is not illegal to be sitting on a sidewalk. It is not illegal to ask someone for spare change or for help with a meal. You may be able to say that public intoxication isn't illegal, but at the same time, every weekend Ottawa's downtown is filled with people who are publicly intoxicated as they walk from bar to bar, and no one arrests them. The problem in the Byward market is a public health and housing crisis. The people suffering from it the most are the ones currently most at risk of being vilified and criminalized. I share people's concerns with the increased number of homeless people in the market, but I want to see the problem solved by housing them and providing the medical care they need. Just pushing them out on the market is both cruel and ineffective. It treats the most vulnerable as if they are less than human and reinforces their fears, and no one cares about them. I am hopeful that if the City Council is looking for solutions to this problem, it will be looked for increased help rather than increased arrest. Now, I really agree with most of this article, because it's not necessarily, as I said, that you're necessarily in danger. It's because when they're on drugs, and that they're not thinking straight. So if they feel that they're being threatened in any way by you, or they just don't know what they're doing, they could pull a knife on you. And what I've been talking about with the knives is that I'm seeing more and more of the homeless themselves carrying knives because of the violence against each other down there. So there's always that increased risk that you yourself might find yourself facing a knife if things go south. So he's absolutely correct. And this is what I've been talking about when you listen to the couple of people that I've talked about and on my videos where they're being attacked in the shelters themselves. So there's a big problem here, and even walking on the streets. And more, I even hear about some of the residents carrying knives because they live in fear because of what we're seeing down here. So and the fact that it's the youth, this is really astonishing because, like I said, having the service dog, having Heidi walking around, I talk to a lot of people because they automatically are gravitated to wanting to talk to me because I have a service dog, and she really has a way of breaking the ice when talking to people. And I've been talking to people who are even employed down here, and it's a lot of the young people that I've been talking to, and I found it very surprising. But they feel that the way the world is going, the way our society is going, that unlike us, they're not even going to reach their pensions, let alone reach the age of 40. Because talking to these young people, they don't believe they're going to live longer than the age of 40. They don't even are questioning, should they have children? I talked to one woman, she had 2 children and struggling as a single mother, and she says, I may have done the wrong thing. What have I brought my children into this world for? What can I give them? Because it's all falling apart around us. So this is very, very discouraging to think that people are not going to live over the age of 40. Here I am, 70, and I have a pension. I'm certainly not rich. I just barely get by, but at least I'm getting by, and at least I talk to people. I socialize with people. I help my community. There's so many things that you can do and to look forward to go out my door in the morning. So this is one of the things that I'm seeing with the youth today. And there's so much in this article, I'm probably going to bounce back and forth with it, off and on. But again, it's not forcing the police on them. This is not what I'm trying to do. But this is what it seems like the policies of the shelters are doing by putting all these people in there and not being able to regulate it properly, even according to their own rules. It seems like they're breaking their own rules when I look at what rules are. And these people, if there's rules in the shelter, because of their volatility, because they're so vulnerable to it, they're so volatile because of the drugs and the alcohol, the mental health problems. Some of them, most of them are probably illiterate. So you put a bunch of rules in front of them for them to obey. Just for example, what can they do? The staff, zero policy to violence. They've got a whole bunch of rules for the staff to protect themselves, and I think that there's less rules even for the clients to even work with. But these people do not understand the rules, and they cannot understand the rules in most cases, let alone obey them. So what happens to them under I believe, under the so-called shelters rules, that, if everything they want, or they ban them, or they put them on a timeout or whatever, it's not going to work. So then the only alternative, from what I can see, is then they call the police. So the police come, but if it's not a criminal matter, what do the police do? They're back out on the streets. Or if they're banned in the middle of the night, and I'm thinking this may be part of the problem there, and let's say it's 45 Celsius below, and the shelter says, well, we've done everything we can, but we have to ban him, and he's got to be out. Now, what happens? Does the shelter ban this person because they're not following the rules in the middle of the night? This is what I'm getting from some of the clients that I've been talking to in my previous videos. So they're out in the cold. Where do they go? To the grate on the street, in a doorway, behind a building. They have to wait. If it's in the middle of the night, they may have to wait till the mall opens up, but they might not make it at 45 below before they can get even to inside a mall to keep warm. So there's a lot of things in this that do make sense to me, and a lot of things, some things that even don't make sense. But I know that one of the things, I know we have an affordable housing shortage, but what I want to talk to you about with this article brought in is what he's also suggesting here, is what I've been suggesting. I didn't know what it was called, but I've been suggesting having apartment building with the supports right there. And what it is not called affordable housing, but it's called supportive housing. That's what I was trying to come in to. And then I think it was sometime last week, watching the CTV News, they had a beautiful thing on. I believe it was Renfrew, Renfrew town, that had an old church. They're converting it into, I think, 48 units for 48 people, homeless people, to live in. But they're going to put the proper supports, like what I've been talking about, all the things that they don't know, the basic living skills, to help teaching these people the basic living skills. But out of 250 people on their waiting list, it's going to be very selective as to the ones that are capable of even learning the basic skills. Because with the supportive housing, I understand there's also some other places where they have more like rooms, but the only thing they don't supply, they have everything but the kitchen, because they don't want to allow them to cook in the kitchen, which they have cooks, and they have a place where they can eat their meals in the residence. So I don't want to make a long video today, but I think I'm going to probably bring this up off and on, because it's an excellent video on what's going on here. But this is what is happening here, and he's absolutely right. It's the violence against each other on the homeless. It's really here affecting us, and we're seeing this violence, but it also comes out and manifests itself in different ways at the same time. So we really, really need to figure out strong and positive ways, and that's what I'm thinking. Like if it's a small building, if they have supportive housing, if they have a mental health crisis worker there 24/7, would be better to have that person on the premises, because even though the city, it's going to take them a year to set up their system that they want to set up, and one of them is putting a separate phone number to get a mental health crisis bunch of people coming in to help the crisis. But how long is it going to take them to get in? And this is in place of calling our police in for everything as well. It would be much better. Like, let's say in this apartment building, you might have, say 10 floors to it, and on the apartment building, and somebody is just freaked out. He's mentally ill. He's decided to go out on the 14th floor balcony, and he's talking about jumping. It would be much better to have somebody on the premises who is trained in there to see if they can talk him down, rather than have to even wait for a support team or even the police to arrive, because it might be too late. You know, it doesn't take much to push a person who's already pretty much over the edge. So this is what I just wanted to talk to you about today. And thank you again for listening. I know it's a bit long, but I know that there's better ways that we can do things. And this is what I do support, the supportive housing. And this is what I've been talking about as well, and going through the problems and why the problems are here. But he came up with a big one. Right now, the bullying, they're attacking one another. They're carrying knives because they feel that that's the only way to protect themselves against each other. So this is what's happening here as well. So thank you for listening. And again, I will talk to you soon. And bye-bye, and take care.